Good evening, everybody. This is the monthly Fitchburg Municipal Airport Commission meeting, October 18th. It's 6 o'clock. I'd like to introduce members in attendance. To my far right, Richie Liberatore, myself, Chairman Clayton Raymond. To my left, Beth Walsh, and to my far left is David Genesi. Members in the audience, we have Jackie Marks from Gale Associates, and we have Daniel Walton from the Fitchburg Pilots Association. Thanks everyone for coming.
Well, I don't exist then.
On to my right, Mr. Peter Kettle. And that's everyone. There's a backpack back here. Thank you for that, Peter. I needed that. If anybody would like to speak on a item that is coming up on the agenda, or even if it's not, there's a time here where you can speak 2 minutes for whatever you like to say about the airport. Nobody. We'll move on. I'd like to get a motion for approval of last month's meeting minutes.
So moved.
Any second?
Second.
Vote. 4-0. Thank you, Beth and David. Action items from previous month's minutes. I think we only have one item. We do. PPG, Mr. Kettle.
Yeah, basically every other item's covered in the agenda as we move forwards. The PPG event took place. We did very well. Everybody was happy. They had to cut it short because of the rain, but we made a reasonable amount of money on the job, which is good news. And they may be back again if we haven't built hangars by the next time they want to come, which is good.
That's great. Okay. Moving on, correspondence to the commission, item 2.
No.
I didn't receive anything as well. Moving on. Item 3, Gale review of ongoing work. Jackie Marks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So you should all have a copy of Gale's update in front of you. And I'll just start off with the first project, item number 1, the environmental assessment and wildlife hazard assessment. New Earth Ecological has been in coordination with Mr. Peter Kettle and myself regarding wildlife surveys. I believe the next wildlife surveys will take place on the 26th and 27th of this month, and those are to be overnight surveys to see what activity is going on at nighttime at the airport. We're, well underway with that process, but, still have another, probably about 6 months left on that study, to complete the year-long process. So just stay tuned and, hopefully have some information, sooner rather than later, or as soon as those reports are compiled. But it's just kind of a lengthy process. Any questions about the wildlife hazard assessment? Okay, so the environmental assessment piece, we are working internally on finalizing a few figures that still need to be just fine-tuned and developed, and incorporating some wetland delineation information into that overall report. There will be some components of the wildlife hazard assessment that also get incorporated into that EA. So, we're planning on presenting, providing a draft to the commission in advance of the next meeting, hopefully over the next couple of weeks, so that you'll have some time with it before the meeting in November, and we can have a really productive discussion at that time and answer any questions you have. But realistically, the environmental assessment really cannot be closed out until that wildlife hazard portion is completed as well. So we're looking at probably September timeframe of next year, I would say, before that EA can really be closed out and, finalized. But we should have at least some answers well before that. So, stay tuned, but we'll get it. We're going to keep it going as soon as possible. And if there's any opportunity, with the FAA to kind of push that EA along, maybe with some preliminary information from the wildlife hazard assessment, we'll certainly take that opportunity to do that. So public notice was posted to the airport's website on the 29th of September announcing that the process has begun. And so that is, of course, a public process. When a draft is developed and available, that will go up on the website as well. Any questions? Environmental assessment? All right, I'll keep it quick. Utility expansion study. I know, Peter, you've been coordinating with Fallon Construction to try to determine the return on investment for city construction of hangars. That's if I am outdated in any of that information.
Oh, that is correct.
Okay.
I spoke to them yesterday, and Tegan told me that they haven't heard from the steel supplier, and as soon as they get that, then they'll give me the details, and we'll put together a return on investment to make to the city, to the commission first, and then if accepted, to the city council.
Okay, so we can keep the utility expansion, we can keep that as a placeholder on our agenda, or we can take it off the agenda, whatever the preference is, and move forward if that's required. But whatever the commission's preference is, we can kind of just stand by on that.
I think it might be better to take it off, in all honesty, and leave the field and construction as the item, because my understanding is that MassDOT Aeronautics will not provide any money if it's going into private and supporting private. So when we introduce and get approved the non-aviation, with all that development of warehouses and hotels, et cetera, then we may be able to get mass development input into providing the utilities, which will be fantastic, but it's a little bit too early to do that at the moment. So.
Okay, so we can certainly, and again, we're happy to jump in at any point with whatever, the commission needs for that. Moving on to other items. The first two items are carryover from last month, but the airport's annual CIP meeting took place last week, and FAA and MassDOT are in a position to accept a grant application for the reconstruction of the airport's main apron in 2024, which I think is great news. I know that was a high priority for the commission. There are, some potential schedule challenges. So we've provided a milestone schedule to FAA and MassDOT. Effectively, what they want to see is that we'll be able to have the necessary permits in time to bid the project and get the bids in and submit the grant application based on the selected bid in time for what's typically April to May timeframe. The deadline tends to shift year by year, but we think that it's certainly possible to complete those items in time and get that submitted. So, waiting again on response from the FAA to determine whether or not the milestone schedule that was provided is accurate, and if they give the green light, we're going to push forward with it. So from that point, we can start developing, a scope of work for the project and start kicking that off, because I know that that's really, really important, and has been for a while for all of you. So good news there.
Question.
Yes.
The permits, that's something that's going to originate from the city of Fitchburg, or is this something that's coming from the MassDOT and the FAA?
I believe the permitting is going to be on the local level.
Okay.
But I can get more information about the specific details of those permits. And then, aside from that, we did have discussions with FAA and MassDOT about future projects for, fiscal years 2025 and 2026 that we're working we're working on providing some additional details that they need. But as we all know, when the CIP meetings come up each year, projects tend to shift based on priorities, based on funding availability and things of that nature. But certainly I know, it's been expressed by the FAA that there are a lot of capital projects that are being required of airports, high priority projects in fiscal year 2025. So funding is going to be limited in 2025 and 2026. So if we can push to get the apron done in 2024, they can they feel they can commit the funds to that. So any questions about CIP, anything else?
To comment, please. When we got the revision from MassDOT and the FAA on the positioning of the projects throughout the years, they'd actually moved the apron back to 2028. So we did a lot of pressurizing with the FAA. And following the meeting, they came back and said, we'll bring it up to 2024. But there is a caveat. It's something like $3.4 million for the ramp. And the payment by the city is $176,000. So the city has to come forward with $176,000 to make sure that this happens. However, we haven't spent the bill for 2024. And we're going to use the bill, which is $275,000. So we're going to have a little bit in residue to spend on other things that we need. So the money's already catered for. Okay. So we've got the bill payment, which is good news. Yeah.
Right. And we should find out in the next, I would imagine, month or so what the actual allocation amount is for that bill program for 2024. But, 2022, I know the airport got to the 295, and then it was a little bit less of an amount, and presumably it'll be right around that, hopefully 295 area
Right.
would be great. Yep.
Excellent.
Any other questions? Anything you need from me?
No. Thank you, Jackie.
Good? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jackie. Appreciate that. Item 4, Fitchburg Pilots Association, Young Eagles event update. Mr. Daniel Walton.
Thank you. I'll keep it quick. I'm Daniel Walton, President of Fitchburg Pilots Association, resident of Holden, Mass. Yes, thank you to the airport for letting us hold another Young Eagles event 3 days ago. 28 students were flown safely. They all got back in one piece with big smiles on their faces. We had no one running around the airport. The lawyers don't need to worry. Everyone was fine. Nobody was running around the apron unexpectedly. And thanks to the airport as well for letting us get fuel truck service at self-serve prices for the people flying the students around. That's all. Any questions?
No, just comment. I'm glad it was a successful event. It happens to be a successful event every year, so must be doing something right.
I hope so. It's always worth it to see all the kids, and again, we'll make sure we perhaps publicize it a bit better than we did this time, just to let everyone know if you guys would like to come down and see all the smiling faces.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you, Dan. New business, item 5, RFP for non-aviation land lease update. Just one moment. Solicitor Pusateri is here with us tonight as well.
The matter that you have again, the land lease?
Item 5, yeah, RFP for aviation land lease update.
Is this?
This is what we were supposed to have presented last night, but it's been already proposed to move to.
Okay. The City Property Committee is going to meet on Monday at 6 o'clock here, I believe, and they're going to receive a fantastic presentation prepared for us by none other than Mr. Peter Kettle.
Unfortunately, that's not true, sir.
You're not going to make the presentation?
No, I can't be here. I'm at the MAMA conference down in Plymouth.
Oh, okay.
So I spoke to Sally Cragen, and Sally's going to move it to the 30th of the month and just have that meeting for us only.
Oh, okay.
I'll make the presentation then.
Okay,
Okay?
so I'll have 2 city property meetings before the end of the month.
You will.
That's great.
Yeah.
Something to look forward to.
Excellent.
So, yeah, we are going to take a more robust approach on leasing of land with the airport. We actually saw a new case that came out late June of this year, and we've been digesting it. But Mary Delaney's been helping us with this. We're actually going to do not so much an RFP, but it's a request for people to express some interest. Expressions of interest is what. And I have spoken with Mary about it. We've discussed the document. I'm going to say it's a substantial draft started, so there's more work that needs to be done on that as well. So that's the status of that.
And you are meeting with me to go over the presentation prior to the time I make it, correct?
I'm meeting with you to
Go over the presentation
the
prior to...
presentation. Absolutely.
Right.
I'm
Excellent.
going to meet Peter's plane.
Yeah.
That's terrific. Okay. Still new business, item 2, CIP meeting, ramp permit.
We just covered that. Gail put it into their presentation, so they didn't give me the opportunity to talk about it. So,
Oh, good, we got a 2 for 1 there.
absolutely.
Old business, RFP for aviation land lease update.
Yes, if you remember at the last meeting, Joe Spinelli actually won the tender, won the bid, and in discussions with him, he's waiting again for delivery of the metal, of the steel for the fabrication of it, but he still hasn't decided on what he's going to do, 1 large hangar or 2 smaller ones. But in either case, that will fit into that property area, and they'll satisfy all the fire codes and everything else. And he's working on that at the moment. So by the time the next meeting happens, we should have some definitive information for the Commission.
Thank you, Peter. Item B, land lease, N number holdings update.
The attorney has completed the land lease agreement. It's been signed by everyone with the exception of Mary Delaney, who will hopefully sign it tomorrow, hopefully. And they are breaking ground next Monday or Tuesday. So they're going to put the footings in and the concrete starting next week, which is excellent news. And that will be for the new hangar and the living accommodation.
Peter, do you recall how many years that land lease was for?
It's 20 years and
It was
20
a
years.
20?
2020.
2020, right?
Yes, sir.
20 years with a 20-year possible extension.
With a possible extension.
Yeah.
I think it has in the lease the reevaluation of fair market value every 10 years. This is the model lease.
The good thing there is that we were challenged to try and get the price right for the square foot cost. And investigation through MAMA, we got a tabulation of all the airports, the 37 airports in Massachusetts, and our price is virtually dead in the center. So we are at the correct price.
That sounds
for
like
what
a
we're
law.
doing. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. To bring it
Very
from
competitive
like
price.
from 0 up to 10 points, I think is a big achievement
No,
because they were too low.
no, that's good.
Peter, they're going to have a ceremony for the groundbreaking, or is it just,
They will do.
there's going to be a, what, do you have a date? Any?
I think it's going to be when the actual hangar's completed.
Okay, then
So
they'll
they can
do
get
it.
all the razzmatazz
Okay,
photographs and
all right.
everything.
I just
so-
didn't know if there was an opportunity for us to.
No. But that may be in January or February of next year, depending on the weather.
Okay.
So,
Thank you, Peter. Item C, minimum standards, item 2.3. There's been no action on that to this moment. It is in my court, and nothing's come out of it yet. So I will continue on that, hoping to see how the Joe Spinelli thing moves forward, and maybe that might shape some of the way the minimum standards can be written in for the future. So, item D, Crawford Street, safety, I guess for the fence.
right.
Nick Erickson.
Yes, I spoke with Nick this morning actually, and we're still waiting, or Nick's still waiting for the report from the investigation notification by MassDOT and the police. Apparently MassDOT are waiting for all the information on the crashes, what happened, when it happened, why it happened, the weather conditions, etc. And as soon as they've got that, they'll do an analysis. And I believe, in all honesty, they'll go with the signage, the luminous signs around the fence, as well as the rumble strip. I think that's going to be the first thing. And to be honest, seeing what's happening at the moment, just those luminous signs at the end of Crawford Street, there's been no accident since they've been put up, which is really good news. But we'll see what happens in the winter. So, so maybe next time at the next meeting they'll have the information available.
Okay. Good. Moving on to financial review, item F, approval of commitments and abatements.
Nothing to report. Thank you.
Item G, executive session. There is not an executive session this evening. Item H, date and time of regular meeting, November 15th, 6 o'clock here, 2023.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I said 19 minutes. It's 21.
So you're off again.
You're off. Close enough.
Regular meeting, permission to adjourn, or motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Beth, ready to go.
If I knew we were on a time limit, I would have not talked as much.
Thank you.
It's always a pleasure.